Hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody, all the familiar faces. Welcome back to another Sunday monthly meeting. And anybody who is new, anybody who came with a friend, we are very, very glad that you're here. You'll hear a lot of information today. We pack a lot into an hour. We stay a little bit after the formal meeting closes just to chat a little bit extra. But you will be hearing today about Chorus, which is really a fascinating effort that we are really hoping to try to just support at the beginnings and give them what they need very quickly. And Jim and then Stuart Perelmuter they're going to tell you more about these efforts. So you'll hear all about that. You'll hear about a couple of other things that we've got going later in the program, and you will have time to ask questions a little bit later after Stuart speaks. So I just have a few quick things to say. One is save the date of March 2nd. We are having an in-person potluck at the home of one of our members who has graciously offered to let us meet in her home. So if you save the date, March 2nd, information will be in every single newsletter about that potluck. We would love to see you there. Another announcement is that we have 16 leaders on a leadership committee in 31st Street. That is the group that comes together. We meet every other week to talk about what is happening, what is going to happen, what we should do, what we are thinking about. And we had a 6-hour retreat yesterday. We do this every year to look ahead to the year. And it was incredibly productive. And I have to say, despite a few tears here and there, it was inspiring and motivating. I would just like to take a minute to any of those leaders who are here today, just wave your hands wildly so people can put faces to names. If you are new to us, you will see the waves. These are our leaders, and I am very grateful to every single one of them. One other thing I would like to say is that we are all incredibly aware of what is happening to our federal government workers, contract workers. We are horrified, and we just want to say it from 31st Street, like we know you, we see you, we are behind you, and whatever we do, we have you in mind. We're with you in whatever way we can be. Many of us know many federal government workers personally and what is happening to them. Okay, the last thing I want to do is to share a quote I have shared before, but I have to tell you, I read this every day. It is personally helpful to me. It is personally helpful for me to read this every day. I put it on my mirror. So here it is, just a short piece of a longer quote from Rebecca Solnit. They want you to feel powerless and to surrender and to let them trample everything. And you are not going to let them. You are not giving up, and neither am I. The fact that we cannot save everything does not mean we cannot save anything. And everything we can save is worth saving. With that, I turn it over to Jim.
Wow, great. Thank you so much. I think I know most of you, but maybe a few I don't. I'm the political analyst at 31st Street, and this is my new life, which I actually like a lot, to be able to do what we do. So, but one of the ways I have to do it is by showing slides, and I'm going to go ahead and do that and run through a few of them to give you a sense of where we are and how you can help with us. So we set priorities, and we only have a few. You know, we change and we shift, but we focus on try to do a few things that we think we know how to do well. And the first one is what we're talking about tonight, and it's relatively new, although we've been building up for it for a long time. This is going to be our first fundraising effort on taking on the anti-right-wing propaganda machine. And it's actually the main part is what Stuart is going to be talking about later, but we do have our own hands-on version where we are promoting our own Facebook outreach as well. And this is the highest priority for me for some period. To me, this is the main reason we lost the election. There were other reasons, but this was by far the most important one, that our model of episodic campaign ads just cannot stand up against the very large right-wing propaganda machine. But there's hope. We can do a lot about it, and we can mitigate a lot. Then also we have the Wisconsin Supreme Court race we've been raising money for, very important. You heard all about that last time at our last meeting and so forth. And we will do the Virginia elections. We've already done some work on that on an ongoing basis. We'll come back to that. And then special elections. So these are basically the things that we're going to be focusing on, and they are, kind of to some extent longer term kind of things. Even though there's all this craziness going on, and we're going to try to mitigate with that to some extent, but we're going to keep focusing on what we think we do well. So here we have this Wisconsin Supreme Court race. We're supporting Power to the Polls, a C4, and a Wisconsin Native Vote C3. And the goal is $200,000 for these folks. So how do you think we're doing? All right. Congratulations. Mission accomplished. We have actually raised our $200,000, and you did that. So thank you so very much for that. So we're done raising money. There are a lot of other people raising money, especially for the campaign directly and for the Democratic Party in Wisconsin, which is great. We are going to continue focusing on phoning, which we think is the next highest priority. So you're going to hear from Michelle about that in a bit. All right. So this is what I was doing this morning, and this is the sort of smaller hands-on thing. We are doing mini storming on Facebook, and I like it. I think it's kind of fun, and we have this every week. We do better doing it. Basically, we put a post up, and we get as many people as we can to amplify it. And we're hoping that we can build it into something. This is what we did a couple of weeks ago. And it takes a while, but it basically, the theme is, I think the biggest theme for us, by the way, overall, is kind of an Uber theme in a way, is the greedy billionaires and how they're influencing everything. And so that's kind of what we're trying to use the principle of propaganda, of saying things over and over again, but tying it to something different. And you notice we got a 3,000 post reach with this one, which is pretty modest, but it's a start. It's nothing compared to what these other influencers and creative content people do, but it's something that we're doing. So now shifting to that blue media area. And I've shown this slide before, and it's just it's illustrative. It's one piece of data. And doesn't cover all the sources of information, but we know that people that read newspapers, we win with them. We actually did pretty well with TikTok during this last election, and TV not so bad, but this other arena, podcasts and a bunch of other things that are kind of in that arena, we really got killed, especially with millennial young men and so forth. And what really drove this home to me, guys, was I talked to conservatively 1,000 voters last year. I mean, voters, mostly low information, low income voters. And I, heard from them these lies that they were getting. If you want to hear a couple of them, I'll go into it, but I'd rather not. So just to tell you that, it really does strike home that we've got to do something about this. All right, so what are we doing? Well, one of our best things that we think we're good at is fundraising. So we're doing a blue media. That's our term, blue media. We're using that term. I don't know if anybody else uses it, but it seems to describe what it is. February 27th, 7 p.m. We'll put in the chat the link to sign up for it. And for this one, we have a formidable partner, Swing Blue Alliance. Some of you may know them. They're a heavyweight grassroots groups in Boston that's agreed to do this with us. So we're really happy about that. And we're supporting Chorus, which you're going to hear from Stu. And there's a C3 tax deductible partner, Better Internet Initiative, that I'll talk about now. And I will say that one of the things I find attractive, and this is a little bit based upon my experience with USAID, when I retired from, was that I really like this model of sort of augmented networking and bringing new folks into the field. We need an ecosystem that's got diversity in a lot of different ways out there working for us. And I think Chorus is going to be very big. It's got very, high level professionals and influencers involved in it. And it will be very big. And if we can just help them get launched, then I think it's the kind of thing I really think will be good for us. So we are upping our goal to $250,000 for this, partly because we have another partner, but also because I think this is going to be attractive to a lot of people. I think a lot of people, and we have a fair number of people, about 80 people on this call, which is more than we usually have, and it's a testimony that people are sort of getting, activated for this. So, and as usual, we need people to help us. And you have the opportunity to be an ambassador for this activity. And we'll tell you, my sister Mary is going to tell you what an ambassador is later on in the program. So I will do one slide on the Better Internet Initiative. They're not going to be talking today, but they will be on the fundraiser, just to give you a sense. They are, they take young people or early people, creative content or influencer. People use these terms a little differently, but it's pretty much the same thing. Tax deductible, they bring them along, give them support and so forth. They have over 100 of these people that they brought along already. And they say in their literature that those creators have 200 million subscribers across platforms, which seems like a huge thing in the ecosystem, but I know the ecosystem is actually pretty vast as well. So then that allows me to turn over for a really good deep dive to Stu Perelmuter to talk about Chorus. So over to you, Stu.
Hey, thanks, Jim. I really appreciate that, and Lisa also. And I just want to say before I dive in that I'm so grateful to this organization and all of you, not just for showing up, which 85 I do think counts as a Super Bowl 100, but I've been saying for a few weeks that we do have the energy on our side now. What we're lacking is focus. People are fired up and they don't know what to do. And to have this really organized, really driven, really effective group of people leading this work and recognizing where we need to be putting our energy is really key. So thank you, truly. So I'm Stuart Perelmuter. I founded a few years ago a firm called Good Influence, and we now have hundreds of content creators with hundreds of millions of followers. They're all values-driven folks. We work for Democratic campaigns and progressive nonprofits to help them reach their objectives. And it's been really effective. As you can imagine, they have people's ears. They are trusted voices. We've also been sounding the alarm for about a year and a half with both presidential campaigns about the need to invest in these voices and to build an infrastructure that operates year round so that we can gain the trust of people, so that we can reach into every corner of the internet, every corner of the culture and communicate truth-based messaging about what needs to happen in the country and the reality of what's going on. Because right now, I know this is no surprise to you, the right is absolutely dominating. The propaganda sphere has absolutely taken over. I'll get into more of this, and I won't dwell too much on what went wrong, because I know you all are pretty well versed in this. But we have been sounding the alarm on November 7th. In the morning of November 7th, I called my partner Josh Cook, and I said, "People get it now. They figured out that this is where we fucked up, and we are the people who know how to do this. Our content creators are the best, literally, in the world at getting messages out, and together we can lead the charge." 12 days later, I'm going to try to share my screen with you. Is that working? You got me?
Yes.
So 12 days later, we launched Chorus. And we had 17 creators with an audience of over 40 million between them. They shared some posts. Within a day, we had social media channels with over 50,000 followers. We had 2,000 grassroots donors, thousands of subscribers, and it was just really clear that people were hungry for this work. I don't want to dwell too much on what went wrong again, but the right has understood that you win the culture, you win the country, and they have, as Jim said, we did well on TikTok. Everywhere else, we struggled. And they were able to dominate social media and reach people, not just more, but there were places where our voices were completely absent. And the only things that people knew about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, they were hearing from people who were there to slander them. Let's see, there we go. And people got that. These are some of the headlines that we read right after the election. This was the influencer election. They invested in it in ways that we did not. We spent a lot of money on TV, and some light up dome, and it didn't work. So we have a solution. Again, this is something that we've been talking about for the better part of a year and a half. We recognize that the vast majority of people, increasing every day, are not getting the news from legacy media. They're getting it from voices on TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, the people that we work with. So we're building an army of pro-democracy voices and investing in those voices, a chorus of content creators that will disseminate the issues that matter most quickly without going through these long chains of vetting, because by then the moment has passed and we're going to get them to the people who need it most. So that's the primer. I want to get right into how we're going to do this work. So the first thing we're going to do is, well, actually we're already doing, we're creating a newsroom. This is, we set up a series of interviews with content creators on Inauguration Day, not to counter program inauguration, but to counterbalance it. This is just one of the interviews that we set up with Kat Abu. She's a great content creator, with Elizabeth Warren. It was viewed by hundreds of thousands of people. It then is recut, put on other platforms in bits and pieces. That is seen another several 100,000 times. And then other people will get those great clips and they'll share it out. And it has this compounding effect that you just don't get with TV. And the value of the newsroom is not just arranging interviews. The way that I think about it is we have treated our best voices as gig workers. And if you think about the 1990s and the before times, the difference between a freelance writer and somebody who worked as on staff at the New York Times. The freelance writer, they churn out one piece of great content and then they immediately go on and they have to go hustle and find their next gig and maybe even work another day job. The number of times that I've had to schedule content creator meetings around their retail jobs and their schedule at the Gap, this is not how we should be treating our best assets. So we're going to create that newsroom. We're going to give people a regular income. We're going to give them benefits, editors, bookers, researchers, fact checkers, space. We're going to help them get their work out there so that they can do what they do best. That's job number one. Number two is the incubator. There are a lot of voices who are really great at reaching people that we're not reaching, but they don't have the time. They might not understand the platforms. We have experts in TikTok, in YouTube, and Instagram. What happens if we pool all that knowledge so that everybody has the benefit of that expertise? And then we're going to give them the tools that they need to thrive on those platforms and take people with maybe 20,000 people who are only able to followers, who are only able to put out a piece of content every few days. We're going to get them working as professional voices so that they can reach people at scale. Then we're going to do cultural penetration. And I think this is one of those things that we hear about a lot. Democrats aren't reaching people outside of just talking about politics. I think everybody knows this at this point. What's the solution to it? And so because we have the benefit of working with these really effective creators, we understand, they understand what the right is doing and how we can ethically utilize those same things. So some of the things are, this article was great. It's really just a deep dive into whether or not RFK Jr. actually works out or if he's just full of shit. And there's all sorts of things about, you know, he wears jeans and his form is terrible and he can barely get through 7 bad push-ups. Who knows? It doesn't matter. But the point is, it's part of the conversation, and it's a way that we can get this guy who's done this deep dive onto fitness shows and various sports shows and just get the dialogue going and get a progressive into this space and get those people into our spaces. And there is real incentive for folks because the followers that they can reach, the new people that they can reach, that's currency if you have a podcast or a show. We have the ability to grow that because, as we said, we've got hundreds of millions of followers in our network at this point. And then to that end, the other thing is the Daily Wire shows up at these podcaster conventions and they find people in fitness and food and fashion and all the things. And they're not trying to get them to change what they say. They're just saying, sign up with us. Let us know when you think we might be interested in something you said, and we'll amplify it. We'll get you another 100,000 views. Again, that's currency. We don't do that. If somebody says something that's toxically masculine, they're gonna amplify it. So that same person might say something that's feminist that we like, but we don't encourage that. So where are they gonna go next? They're gonna repeat the thing that's giving them the positive reinforcement. So we need to create that permission structure and incentive structure to get folks in the culture who do agree with us to start talking about the things that we want them to talk about again. The next thing is messaging. This is Brian Tyler Cohen's passion. He'll be talking to you on the 27th for the fundraiser. He is probably the best in the business, certainly when it comes to understanding how to message specific things, message what's going on. If you don't listen to his podcast already, the monologue that he gives at the beginning every week really is a masterclass in how to effectively talk about things. We talked about USAID and just, you know, the fact that ending USAID is such a gift to China. It's to create a soft power imbalance, and he's really mastered that. But sorry, I digress. The idea is Fox News and the right has been doing for decades these morning meetings, 5 minutes, easily digestible, easily memorizable. We don't have to watch the meetings because everybody is repeating them. I don't watch Fox News, but I know what they're talking about because my next door neighbor won't shut up about them. So Brian has the ability to bring that in on our side. We've already started to do some early meetings. When Elon Musk blew up the budget deal in December, we called an emergency meeting. Brian put out some messaging. He said, don't get stuck in the nitty gritty. Focus on $200 million in child cancer research that they're cutting. That is absolutely unpalatable. And we did that. And I'm not saying causation and correlation. I'm just saying that was the first thing that they cut. They understood that was toxic, and he picked up on that immediately. So we'll do those. We'll keep our people on the same page, and we'll also turn that into content so that other people can see that as well. And coming from an authority like Brian, we're likely to get those things repeated. Thing 5 is the production. We want to create an experimental production ground for these voices so that they can work with each other, so that they can have studio space and production teams, find things that not everything's going to work, but it's okay. It's an experiment. If it doesn't work, we move on to the next thing. But with the people who we're dealing with, we know that we're going to have some new properties that are going to reach people in really compelling ways. Chorus will have a shared ownership in that, which means that the creators will be able to have another income stream, which is key, but also Chorus will have its own income stream so that it can start to become self-sustaining too, and we don't have to go begging for money every couple of years. Probably next year we'll also be begging for money, but soon we'll all be self-sustaining. And the last piece is AI. I was really resistant to this at first for a couple of reasons. One, I do really hate the energy consumption of AI. It's something we're just going to have to reconcile that we can't, it's too effective to take off the table. And the other reason I was resistant is because it still does not come close to having the ability to replicate the voices, these authentic voices and messengers in the ways that they are able to connect with people. However, what it does do really well is it can identify tactics that are working and amplify them 1,000-fold by cutting and disseminating, repackaging content, bringing in the content that we really need. So we've already partnered with Opus, something called The Machine, which is just the most amazing tool on the left for generating content and repurposing it and bringing in clips of relevant content online. It's been a huge boon for the creators and really enhanced their work. And so taken together, the plan is to, we are in the process of building a chorus of thousands of coordinated voices that will generate a high volume of the most effective, technology-enhanced, fact-based, pro-democracy content that will penetrate every corner of the internet, every corner of the culture, and finally rival this right-wing propaganda machine that has dominated our culture and finally beat them in their own game and start winning again. And with that, I don't know where I am on that 10 minutes, but I tried to be succinct. I'm happy to open it up to questions.
Great. Thank you so much, Stuart. I'm Aaron Hamburger. I do membership here at 31st Street Swing Left, and I also often curate the Q&As.
Amazing.
What I'm about to do. So thanks so much for being here and for that presentation. We have a lot of questions to get through. So for the next 10 minutes or so, we'll kind of talk about those. One of the sort of recurring questions that's coming up is, how about Substack? How do you keep up with changes in social media? My daughter used to use Instagram, but now she said they changed something. She goes to it less often. How do you know what's going to be popular in a year or two? Like, how do you deal with, like, not only is there a varied landscape with social media, but it's very dynamic and it's constantly changing.
Yeah, so to the first part of your question, Substack, that is actually going to be a huge part of our work because we have people with literally millions of followers who are struggling to make ends meet if it's on certain platforms. Like TikTok is not a hugely profitable platform if you're talking about left-wing issues. Substack, we have people who have thousands of followers and are making six figures off of just their Substack. So part of what we want to do, as I said, is we want to bring in that shared knowledge so that everybody can benefit from it. We want our cohorts to exit in 6 months to a year from the paid program and every single person be self-sustainable so that they can focus exclusively on their content. To your point about keeping up with the changes, when I first got into this work a few years ago, being relatively old for social media, that was a huge concern of mine. It was moving so fast. The content creators have completely eased my mind. They will make sure that we are constantly on top of it. This is their life's blood. There are things that happen that I can't tell you how much quicker we know about them just because we work with these people. So again, we have, and part of the original 17 creators in Chorus, they're not our biggest creators. Some of them are very big, but really what I wanted to do was to take people who had specific expertise. So Jack Cocciarella is our YouTube expert. Josh Helfgott is our TikTok expert. Brian's our messaging expert. And so everybody is able to keep on top of a specific area, really in an unraveled way. So I lean on the creators is the answer.
Great. Okay. The questions are flooding in. I'm going to try to combine them so you
I will try to give shorter answers.
multiple ones at the same time. A number of questions are basically centering on the same question, which is, who does your content reach? How do you know? And how do you know if it has an impact? Are you reaching young men, women, people of color? Like, how do you know who you're reaching, and is it having an impact?
This is such a good question. And I did cut this slide, but we, at Good Influence, my other hat, we've been asking this question for a long time. Our voices are the people who we work with by and large, because they've been so effective at helping organizations reach their objectives, are the people who are trusted on democratic politics and progressive values. And so people say all the time, well, aren't you just preaching to the choir? And the first answer to that is you need to preach to the choir. The choir sings, and they need to be told what to sing. And if they're not singing, then you forget about everybody else. So that's part one. Part two is we did a deep dive. We partnered with a lot of data tools in the last year, and we were able to match 2 million of our action takers, people who've just clicked on a link that a creator shared during the last 6 months of the campaign, to the voter file, to various data that is on the internet. It's bananas. We're living in the future, and it's scary. But we tried to put it to good use, and so we were able to match them to a voter support score. And what we found out is even with these very progressive leaning creators, only half of the people who were taking action, so people who were really engaged in their content, had a higher than 50% Democratic support score. So the remaining 50%, a third of them were considered persuadable, could go either way. And then a sixth of them were actually lean Republican. So we know from this past year that we are reaching a pretty broad demo in terms of their support of the parties. We also know we are able to, all of our creators log into our app. They communicate on our app, but it also gives us some insight into their platforms. So we not only know the age demo, the location demo, gender of the aggregate audience of our network, but we can place it to not only creator, but their specific platforms. So some of the younger people on one platform, on TikTok, will have a younger audience. On YouTube, they have a whole different demo. So that being said, we also need to broaden considerably, but we do have the tools to really target that and measure the results.
Great. Another series of questions are, what is your business model? Are you depending entirely on donations, or do you have sponsorships? What's your budget? How does that work?
We have an ambitious $20 million year one budget. We are going to be largely dependent on some donations this year. And we have a plan to, over the course of the year and into year two, become more financially independent through properties. We want to start doing some IRL events that will have sponsorships. We want to build out our channels in the same way that we're building out our creators' channels. And the nice thing is we've got these giant creators who are totally on board to do that. The creators are so bullish about this idea and this work. So in the same way that a YouTuber becomes profitable, we want Chorus to become financially self-sustaining or close to it around year 3.
Great. And in terms of content, do you coordinate with like the DNC, or like we have this upcoming Wisconsin court election, Supreme Court thing, Accelerate Change, Crooked Media? People are mentioning like other venues. So how do you work with other groups?
Yeah, we've been really encouraged by the embrace that we've gotten from, I mean, really from week one, from the outgoing White House at the time, um, to the DNC, to members of Congress. We're actually spending a week on the Hill starting tomorrow, where they've actually, Brian Tyler Cohen, Josh and I will go into the House Democratic Caucus, the Senate Democratic Caucus, and meet with the various comms staffers as well, and really talk about the need to make their social media more effective and how to do it, how to work with us more effectively. They've been really generous with their interviews, especially once they see how much bang they get for their buck. The number of eyeballs that they can get for giving us 10 minutes of their time can dwarf what they're getting if they land a Sunday morning interview. And also, this was not originally part of the plan, but it is becoming a needed part of the plan, how to toughen up and not try to sound reasonable and play nice with Nazis.
Hmm. Yeah, that actually was another thing that came up in the chat. It seems like right-wing people get attention by being provocative. Will you do that too? How do you sort of counter the structural advantage of just making shit up, as they say? And one person said, "Who is our Democratic Joe Rogan? Like, how do we, how do we?"
Yeah. Oh, everybody's being so nice as I look over to the chat. Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Lynn. And oh, thank you, Corey. So uh, we feel like we want to, the time for being nice with Republicans is long since passed. We feel like because the facts are on our side, we don't need to make shit up. We can be truthful, we can be fact-based, but we need to be effective about it. We need to recognize that we can't cancel people, that we need to grow our tent, that we need to focus on messaging that works, even if it's not always the thing that feels good. It feels really good to say, oh, this is what you voted for, Trump voter. You thought eggs were going to be cheaper, not effective, not helpful. So we need some discipline. I do think that the creators give us that opportunity to have leadership, real grassroots leadership, to say this is what's working, this is what we don't want to do. But it's really about volume, and that's a big part of what we're going to do. Aside from the quality of the content, a big part of what we're going to be doing on the Hill this week is just saying, stop agonizing all day over a single tweet. A single tweet isn't going to move the needle. Elon Musk is literally tweeting 50 times a day, and Instagram and TikTok, and there is so much volume. Right now, I mean, we're going to go to the D trip as well, and we're going to say we got 3 special elections. All of them we're probably going to lose. But if we win all 3 of them, we flip the entire House of Representatives. Why aren't we hearing about this? Because probably this is what they'll say. We'll find out. If we put a lot of effort into it, if we make a big show and then we lose, then the narrative is we've lost momentum. Republicans don't care about the narrative that comes out of a single event, because they immediately shift the narrative to the next thing. It's volume. So that's the answer there. With Rogan, I've said this before to people. If 1.5% of the public had gone another way, 7 entire swing states, maybe 4 of them had gone another way, the narrative would have been, where's the rights Beyonce, or where's the rights Taylor, right? And we do have big voices, but what we don't have is that permission structure and that incentive structure. 4 years ago, our Joe Rogan was Joe Rogan. We lost him, right? Because we push people away, they pull them in. So we do have a pretty specific strategy to address that. And it doesn't mean that we hit the ground running and it's there, but I think that we know the direction that we need to move in.
Okay, we have time for one final question. We will stay on after the end of the meeting, and so if some things don't get addressed, we can talk about those at the very end. But a number of people are asking about bots. How do we get the massive effect that the right has by using bots if we don't use bots, or do we use truthful bots?
Yes. So no, that's a really good question, and one that we are working to navigate. As I've said, I've become an AI convert reluctantly. And we know that it is something that we're going to need to do to reach the volume that we need. We are Democrats. We don't want to sacrifice our values, and we do need to make sure that we're doing it in an ethical and legal way. If for no other reason, we know that the Justice Department will come after us every excuse they have. So we're looking into that. But what I do know is that we have the tools that we need at our disposal, and we have the desire to make it work and work fast.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And Stuart, I encourage
you.
you to the chat. If there's anything that we didn't get to talk about, you can answer it there.
Okay.
I'm going to turn the mic over to Lisa, and I'm going to post where to donate once more in the chat if people need that. Lisa, go ahead.
Thank you all so much.
Well,
You've been very generous with your time.
Thanks for being here, Stu. I mean, I couldn't help but like start donating. My anxiety went down as I donated. I'm going to turn it over to Mary with a short message, and go for it, Mary.
Hello, friends. I just want to lift up what Lisa just said and what somebody named Leslie just posted in the chat. Leslie said, I feel my anxiety dropping just listening to this. So Stuart and Jim, with the background that you created, you are helping all of us, even as you speak. Thank you. So, can I ask you two questions? The first one is, do you think Stu and Jim made the case that staking a claim to the digital spaces of our media landscape has to be a top priority? And the second question is, do you know what you can do to be a part of the solution? So if the answer to those two questions is yes, I want to give you two things you can do. Number one, you can sign up to be an ambassador for the February 27th fundraiser for Chorus and for the Better Internet Initiative. So you say to me, what is an ambassador? So all being an ambassador means is that you look through your network and identify at least 10 people who you think share your horror at what is going on and who would be interested in contributing to carefully vetted efforts to address the horror. You identify at least 10, we send you the invitation and then the reminder card. And we're thinking about adding perhaps one more last minute reminder. And you just individualize that invitation. So if you're writing to your college roommate, you would be connecting with them in a different way than if you were writing to a colleague from work or a next door neighbor. And that's all it takes to be an ambassador. So I'm going to put my email address in the chat in just a minute. And if you would be willing to be an ambassador for February 27th, please send me your email address, or I should say email me with your email address, because I think you may not want the whole, I guess we're up to 87 people who are on this call to know your email address. Be an ambassador, and secondly, and so many of you have already started doing this, you can make a contribution to Chorus right now and feel your anxiety drop even a little bit more. I'm not sure how much Stu really stressed this, but they need early money. On a call that I was on with Stu, he said, the big donors are still trying to figure out what happened. And money from the big donors will come in maybe in 6 months or so. They are hitting the ground running. They need our money right now. So whether you contribute today or contribute at our fundraiser on February 27th at 7 p.m. via Zoom, please give them the money to do what Stu laid out for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. And now another effort that we're embarking on, Michelle Heimbach is going to talk to us about that.
Hello, everyone. So in addition to raising money, when we want to take action, something we can do and we should be doing is making phone calls. And right now, we're calling for the special, well, it's not a special election, the election on April 1 in Wisconsin for the state Supreme Court. They've had a 3-2 Democratic majority. One of the liberal progressive judges is retiring after a long career, and a current judge at in another level of the judiciary system in Wisconsin, her name is Susan Crawford, is running to replace him. She is a tried and true Democrat, and if she wins, it's good things both for Wisconsin in terms of voting rights and abortion rights, and it also has the potential to bring good things to the rest of the country in terms of that Wisconsin has some of the most gerrymandered maps in the country. They will have a chance to do some congressional redistricting in a few years, and we might be able to gain 2 more Democratic members of the U.S. House of Representatives if Wisconsin has fair maps. So right now, between now and April 1st, there are phone banks happening 3 times a week. I called last week for the first time, and I'm going to be calling again Monday, tomorrow, and Wednesday, and I would love to see some of you on that phone bank with me. Aaron or someone is going to stick into the chat the mobilized links to sign up for these phone banks. On Monday nights and Wednesday nights, it's to recruit poll observers. So this is an easy ask. You're calling friendly Democrats. When I called last week, I spoke to 4 people. 2 people were already poll workers, and the other 2 thanked me for calling them. They want to sign up, and one of them plans to recruit friends to sign up too. So they need poll workers in Wisconsin. And the second type of call is to call voters to tell them about to tell them about the election, to tell them who Susan Crawford is and what's at stake. And those phone calls are on, I think, Wednesday and Thursday nights. The support and the training is coming from the WisDems, which is the Democratic Party in Wisconsin. I found the training last week to be top level. You need a laptop or an iPad or a desktop and a cell phone. And they will send you information with background on the candidates and the race and a script and walk you through how to do it. While it's a 2-hour time frame when you sign up, you do not have to stay on for the full 2 hours. I generally do an hour or about 75 minutes worth of calling and then move on to something else. And I have to tell you, I feel so much better spending an hour making these phone calls than scrolling through my phone, reading the latest atrocities that are coming out of DC. So I really, really hope you'll join me and sign up to make some phone calls. As I said, there are offerings every week between now and April 1.
Michelle, thank you. Are they looking for poll workers or poll observers?
We're calling for poll observers, and you do not have to be a Wisconsin resident to do that, which is interesting. I was calling some people in Chicago, which is about an hour and a half drive to Milwaukee, and they were on board.
Okay, great. That's excellent. Thank you. And it's always good to know that the training is good. Okay. We are actually ready to do our open mic for a while. So just open it to more questions, comments, anything anybody would like to ask or say. Aaron can look through questions. If you want to raise your hand, feel free to raise your hand. So we have a little time. We'll end formally at 5, but then we'll stay on for a few more minutes. But this has been a great program. I mean, generally, I find that I feel much better at the end of our events, partly from seeing everybody here and partly because I hear about something that's actually happening. And it's really awful to feel like, what are they doing? Who's out there? Who's fighting? So this is amazing. I'm really glad to know of this effort. So, Aaron, do you want to just keep looking through the questions, or anybody can raise their hand?
Oh, Deirdre is filling the chat with the number 4. I'm not really sure what that is. Deirdre, can you not do that because it's hard to see what is in the chat? Judy, you have your hand up.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for this. I wanted to ask Stuart if he's still here. I'm familiar with Accelerate Change. Peter Murray which looks at social media platforms or creates platforms for different groups. And I wonder if We Are Chorus has any association or collaboration with them.
We have a friendship. We're actually seeing him on Tuesday, I believe. I think we're seeing Peter and Tara. Tara, who talked to you, is actually on our advisory council now. So that's very exciting. Yeah, no, we do have a relationship, not like an official partnership at this stage, but really appreciate the work that they're doing, and I think we'll be moving forward in some form of collaboration.
Somewhat symbiotic, and I know Tara was really pissed off that the DNC did not give any money to values media compared, and maybe they'll change their. But it is useful to know whether these different platforms are at least talking, so that there's, different focuses of influencers or this or that. So hope that will happen. And I have contributed to you.
I do too, and I think everything that I've seen so far is that there's no pride in ownership or territorial nonsense. Everybody knows that we're in this together. We can't afford to fracture with what we're up against. I also did want to share, I just saw that there's a message in the chat about this rumored $440 or $40 million Elon Super Bowl buy. And I have not confirmed whether or not that's actually happening, but I know there's a big push to pre-butt his video. And so I'm going to share in the chat at 5:30 in 33 minutes. People are going to be sharing this video about USAID. Do you say USAID? Yeah. Some people say USAID, but I've been saying USAID. Let's see, did these both go?
A friend of mine from USA.
Oh, shoot. I just heard one person. Sorry.
Sorry.
Sorry, keep talking.
I can confirm that as a former contractor to USAID, I have friends in USAID who have sent this that to counter Elon Musk's 40 million anti-USAID stuff. I thought folks at this meeting would also be interested in doing something right now to put something out at 5:30. But I sent it to Jim, but you may have it too, in terms of a link that you can follow to post on your Facebook a counter ad to show how important USAID soft diplomacy is. Thank you.
Yes.
So those two links are in the chat right now. And if people want to click on them, they can have them open on their computers. And then at 5:30, they can just send them out or like them or share them or do whatever they want to do with those. That would be great.
And the messaging that we're recommending is to focus on USAID is not only about helping the people who need it the most, but also it's about American strength and it's about countering China. And there's nobody happier with the end of USAID than China.
Great.
Sorry, was there a question before I sidetracked us onto that?
No, I think that was it. There was another question, by the way, that came up in the chat asking, can we email everybody with the relevant links that came up in the chat? And we will be sending our regular newsletter this week, which will have links to everything that we talked about. There will also be a recording of this meeting, so you can refer to all of that information. So that will be there for you.
Awesome. And there's a question in the chat about local and state campaigns, and local and state work has been a large part of the Good Influence work over the years, especially the last 2 years, especially leading up to the midterms. And it will be reshaped or it'll be different for Chorus. Chorus is really movement building, and Good Influence is really about what is the organization after right now? Is it after volunteers for Bashir? Is it about persuasion? But it's right now what we're looking at for Chorus is using Nevada as a testing ground. Both senators there seem very eager to invest in this work, and we really want to build a strong statewide base of creators, measure the impact, couple that with national creators talking about the issues on the ground, amplifying them, seeing how we can excite people in the state around our values and our goals, and then replicate that in other key states and hopefully all 50 states, get some other states back on the table.
So there was a question about Courier in the chat, and we're not planning to do anything nationally with Courier, but people may recall we did work with in Pennsylvania with Courier, and we're exploring working with them in Virginia, though nothing has really emerged yet. Over.
Okay, good to know. I like the sort of synergy, to use an old-fashioned word, the energy that's happening here with, you know, Judy sharing a link in the chat and Stuart sharing a link and people grabbing it, and now they're going to post it on their social media. And then we have, you know, donating to the fundraiser. I mean, this is the kind of thing that we need to be doing to win and to change the landscape. And, you know, at 31st Street, it's not all about like, you know, Lisa tells you what to do, or I tell you what to do, or Mary tells you what to do. Like if we're all kind of like helping each other to work in chorus, oh, there we go. We're going to have a lot more effectiveness. So Judy's conducting right now. So yeah. So and we've raised already $8,500 today. So that's a really great start on our $250,000 goal, and we've got a whole month to get that done. So anyway, that is really a fabulous number. Okay, any other questions that people wanted to ask? Yeah, Lisa.
Okay, so we
Oh.
don't see any more?
Oh, Lisa wanted to
Oh,
ask.
Lisa Russell. Okay, yes.
Thanks. So Stuart, what's your staffing for fundraising?
You mean our staff for fundraising or the fundraising, how will it go to staff?
No, do you have a staff who do fundraising?
We're working with a consultant firm that actually is not really a fundraising firm, to be honest. The short answer is no, we don't have a fundraising staff. The longer answer is Josh and I are wearing two hats full time right now. We've got a consulting firm that is helping us. We're making it work right now. To the point about the Mary's point, I think about the early money in the door. I think that's what's going to help us pull some people in and get us some support to get to where we need to be.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you willing to volunteer, Lisa, to help with the fundraising?
That was my job for decades. So that's why I asked.
Maybe you can help.
Yeah.
Maybe we should chat offline. That's incredible.
Perhaps we should.
Perhaps we should.
Great.
Thank you for that offer. I will just drop my email address in the chat.
Sure. All right.
Oh, here's another person volunteering. Lucy.
Woohoo.
Yeah.
You all really are amazing.
I mean, what other group does this? Come on, this is amazing.
Really.
Awesome. Okay, any other folks?
Let me just throw something in. I thought somebody might ask about this, but on the the early call for new members, somebody mentioned the demonstration at Treasury. And, you know, historically, we have not been involved in activist kinds of things about notifying people, but we are going to selectively start doing this and in our outreach. When we think there's something that you know, there's a special situation where we really want people to turn out, and Common mentioned something in the chat, but we're going to be very selective about trying to encourage people to do that. Over.
Okay, anything else? Sounds like we're good. All right, we have our homework assignments. We're all going to be ambassadors and do all the other things, and we will turn this country around. We did it once before, we can do it again.
And I just want to say, given the average age of the people on this Zoom, like, look at us. Look at us supporting this new age technological social media effort. I mean, I think we're pretty awesome. So thank you, everybody. Have
I
a
also
wonderful.
think you all are so awesome. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Stuart.
Thank you
Stuart.
all.
Thank you, Stuart.
You.
This was wonderful. It does help us with our anxiety.
It
Thank
does.
you, Stuart.
Just to be
Absolutely.
together.
You all.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody. Enjoy the puppy bowl or that other thing if you're gonna watch. I'm watching the dogs.